LSU Odyssey live here, everybody. How you doing? Rocking in the free world, everybody. LSU Odyssey is here live after an LSU win. LSU top Arkansas 23-22, and a lot of good vibes in the air. A lot of good feelings. Great to see Frank Wilson get his first victory as head coach at LSU. Who knows how long the interim status will go for? There's some interesting debate about that. About should Frank be the guy that LSU goes in the direction for? Because not only is he a more committed, more dedicated, more kind of localized option, he's also going to be very, very, very cheap in comparison to a guy like Lane Kiffin, who you're having to pay, break the bank for. Not to mention the staff and all of that. And then you got Lane Kiffin, playing Florida, all this stuff before the game, and a lot of Florida guys just basically trying to push this, the media trying to push this Kiffin to Florida narrative like their lives depended on it, and just couldn't do it. Not only Ole Miss consolidates their position, winning by 10 over Florida, Kiffin like, completely says I'm committed to Ole Miss and I love Ole Miss after the game. Everything you expected Lane Kiffin to say, though. I mean, would you expect him to say anything else? But the walk down the streets with Theo Vaughn, they're jumping around and stuff. Like, it seems like he's got his own little, like, post-COVID white guy posse there that's like patrolling the neighborhood, like, hey, this is the real world now. This is the crazy world. Oh my God, like, we're a pretend militia. There's some type of vibes there of that. That's kind of funny, but at least the image in my head was funny. Maybe it wasn't funny to you guys, but all this talk of Kiffin and LSU fans, Florida fans, a lot of people wanting Kiffin to be their head coach, whether it's Florida, whether it's LSU, just Kiffin. And the Kiffin fever is off the wall. But is Frank Wilson a viable option? And should he be one that is considered right at the front and center, not only just given an opportunity, which is just obviously a duh situation, but given a real shot at this thing and handed the keys to the kingdom? I'm going to give you an argument why he should, and to give you an argument why he shouldn't. Okay. We'll go into that in a second. And then we'll also talk about the Nussmeier injury stuff that just continues to come out. I hate to be self-promotional. We don't get everything right. We're not ahead of everything. We can't pay a staff of writers to generate breaking news nonstop 24/7. It's just us, right? But I still think we've done a good job here in staying way ahead of everybody else, because the narrative on Nussmeier, at least on this specific story, the narrative on Nussmeier's injury, the starting quarterback for your LSU Tigers, literally the guy who had the ball in his hands, he was going to be the main reason you either went to the playoff or didn't. And everyone knew it. And this guy can either be literally a Heisman winner, a first-round pick, or things can really go another way. It was very obvious from the get-go, right? And sadly for Nussmeier, for LSU, it went another way. But the reason it went another way is greatly caused by the craziness that happened this offseason. And it culminated with 2 fall camp injuries where you got an injury on your knee and your patellar tendon, an injury that, of course, LSU were not completely upfront about. Everyone I asked was trying to obfuscate. And then we found out from some people who gave us the real dope, because they were like, "This is not right." They're actually hiding the news about the health of their starting quarterback, and we're going to play Clemson. And that person then told me that Nuss doesn't just have this knee thing on. This is like maybe September. No, this September would have been. This has got to be like August 15th, because August 8th was the day that we were hearing about the Nuss knee thing, right? That's when LSU Odyssey, at least that the video I saw, maybe it was a few days before that. We'll dig into that. But from what I was able to dig up on our own reporting on that, was August 8th or around that area. Okay. It had to have been at least, maybe 5-6 days after that then this person's telling me, "No, Lon, like, it's not just the patellar tendon. He just literally tore his abdominal area." And I'm like, "What?" And I could never get a confirmation on a complete tear, but I kept getting sourcing that it was an abdominal injury and that he was going to be dealing with it for the entire season. And everyone you heard from, I'm not trying to call names out. I'm not trying to be like, I'm better than everybody. This isn't a dick showing contest, measuring contest. I'm really just trying to point out the fact that this is true. The rest of LSU media, I can't think of one person that comes to mind, except for someone that was, influenced by our reporting, or influenced maybe by something that they saw that we had produced, because we were very much the outlier here. Everyone else was saying he's fine. He's fine. Oh, come on. This is such an overreaction of people talking about surgery and all this stuff. Like, are you kidding me? Shut up. Like, who do you think you are? He's no. That's why you need to listen to real reporters, who get spoon-fed information and then don't follow up because they're just shaking hands with the hand that scratches the back, the hand of the devil that haunts you. And then just kind of shooting that back, regurgitating that back, and that's what you call news. That's what you call journalism, is taking the word of the powers that be as gospel, and doing what thou says, and everywhere you look, it was Garrett Nussmeier is fine. Garrett Nussmeier is in great condition. Garrett Nussmeier is fine. This is ridiculous. This is poppycock. This is absolute nonsense. This is why people like him have to be shut down. There's a lot of people who would not mention us by name. Like, almost, he shall not be platformed. He shall not be given even a word. He must be silenced. He must be destroyed. There were people who were like absolutely shaking their heads in disgust with thinking Garrett Nussmeier's hurt, trying to say that Garrett Nussmeier's hurt. Like, shut up. Like, people trying to say that, Lon, what are you doing? You're being crazy. You're just being fast and loose. You're really losing your mind here. I mean, we had some real moments where we had to believe in our reporting above everything else. We had to believe in the people we were talking to, the people that we were trusting, the evidence that we were seeing. And that's ultimately what made us go with this so hard. Was we saw some evidence that was just like too much to ignore. And I know everyone now likes to pretend that, oh, we all knew Nuss was hurt. Oh, this is ridiculous. We all knew Nuss was. That is absolute bullshit. And you know it. You absolutely know it. There was a complete protection of Nuss is fine. Nuss is fine. It wasn't until the Florida game that it became widespread. Maybe Nuss really is hurt. But then it was mostly people just saying, no, Nuss just sucks. This injury thing is a hoax. This injury thing is a hoax. I'm not trying to call him out, but Mike Scarborough said that it was a hoax that Nuss was hurt and that he just sucks and he just wasn't working hard and he just took the summer off. And maybe some of what Scarborough was saying is true there. But he literally called it a hoax and now has been completely proven wrong on that. And nothing is said, nothing is done. Whereas if I did that, the entire state of Louisiana would be trying to string me up a tree. But the point of saying all this is LSU had a starting quarterback injured before a snap had even been called, a play had even been called, the ball had even been snapped, a ball had even been kicked off to start the 2025 season. Garrett Nussmeier may have not ever even really had a chance with that offensive line, with maybe the limited supporting cast around him, the really poor play calling, the head coaching leadership. And then you're talking about 2 injuries. At one point, he even had 3 with like a wrist that got screwed up in one of these, I think against Ole Miss. So you're talking about a dude who really had a lot stacked up against him, pretty much everything. That's not going to excuse the mistakes he made, the poor decisions, the poor play that he made, the some of the interceptions in the red zone. The way he spins into that sack against Alabama, instead of just moving up and climbing into the pocket, the space is right there. All of this points to a kid who's dealing with multiple injuries, is dealing with perhaps the side effects, shall we say, of playing football through injuries. And I don't know if you can catch my drift there, if you can understand what I'm trying to say, but that could play a role. And if we're not looking at that or even considering that, I think we're doing a real injustice to the young man, because maybe some people think that's salacious to bring that up. And maybe people think that's out of bounds. You're saying he's into drugs. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's obvious these athletes are given painkillers to play through injuries. Now, I have seen the reality of what those painkillers can do. We're not just talking about giving a guy like a bunch of Percocet or something. We're talking about giving a guy Toradol, where he can go out there and keep playing like there's no problem, but he can't feel what he's doing to his body. And he's absolutely shredding muscle. He's absolutely just grinding out the cartilage. It's going to be bone on bone pretty soon in a certain area. I mean, we're talking about some really nasty effects because of those pills, because of those injections. And whether it's opiates during the game or after the game, and then Toradol injections during the game, or maybe after the game, it doesn't matter. The hand washes the other in complete opiate bliss. That is probably the worst thing known to man for football players, especially young football players. I'm not making any allegation. I'm not making any reporting here. I'm not saying anything about anything. I'm saying it's something we need to be paying attention to, and we need to be alert to, and we need to make sure there's no stigma about this, so that any type of athlete in any type of situation like this can get the help they need without worrying about what the public's going to say or what. Because here's the thing. If I got information that some athlete, was hurt, and they were drugged out on painkillers and getting strung out on them, that's something where I would never release that information unless they wanted to release it themselves. They wanted to tell their story. They wanted it to be a cautionary tale, stuff like that. We've had offers for that. We've had people who want to do that. And so we're going to move in a direction like that with our show, where we're going to be trying to capture as many of these stories as possible, from so many different players, triumphs on and off the field, and some of these great LSU Tiger legends like we just had on the show with LaRon Landry. Definitely a must-see show that we did. He is just unbelievable to talk to. But the effects of football can be extremely, 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 like, maybe just extreme. I should just say the effects of football are just extreme. Like, everything is just extreme to the limit. The soreness, the achiness, the injury, the pain tolerance, the agony of that same area getting hit again. Like, football is a nasty game, and Garrett Nussmeier was toughing through it, trying to lead the team. I understand, but this was a decision that may have cost LSU its season before it even began. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, this is a huge deal. I don't think people are understanding right now, maybe as much as they will in years later, what a big deal this is, that Garrett Nussmeier started this season with a very serious injury in two different places. Two of the worst places for a quarterback. You're planting knee, and the patellar tendon injury wasn't that bad, right? But it's still an injury in your patellar tendon knee. You're planting knee, and then a torn abdominal. Oh my God! It was quite obvious, even during the Clemson game. You were just the glow of the win and LSU controlling the game. All these things. It was like you didn't really think about it. And then when you're watching the game back the next day, that's when I really it just stuck out to me so badly. Like, oh my God, he's wincing making these throws. He's hurting making these throws. Like, this is not the Garrett Nussmeier we knew. Like, this is something's going on here. And his play just it just went off a cliff. Garrett Nussmeier's play just went off a cliff. Frank Wilson, you know, we did a post game show, but I'm not gonna post it on YouTube. I do not want another one of these freaking things that we just got back from a week ban because we showed like little bits of footage from the Alabama game. And I get it. We won't show things with commentary. We forgot this time, and we had some shots with commentary. We're not going to post that post-game show here, but if you want to watch it, it was like an hour and a half, and I thought it was a good show. I thought it was all right. Definitely check it out. It's on LSUODYSSEY.com if you're interested. But Frank Wilson getting his first victory. Now, I'm going to give you an argument for why he should be given the shot for the next head coach job, why he should be given the job, let's just say that. And then 2, why he shouldn't. Number 1, why he should. Because right now you need someone who is all LSU, completely invested in LSU, dedicated to serving LSU, taking LSU to the next level, not a careerist, not someone trying to take, another step to maybe Notre Dame, Ohio State to try and like get even more money in a favorable schedule or something. Some guy who maybe wants to go to the NFL. We're talking about getting someone who is like rooted in LSU. Not only are they an amazing recruiter, like one of the best recruiters in the country, they lock down the state. You see how all of these guys, some of the most passionless players on LSU's roster this season, Harold Perkins, he's back to some of his best performances of 2022. A few of his really strong games in 2023. This is Perkins at his best. And you see that he's all over Frank, like grabbing him, pulling him in, hugging him, like loving on him. Like that's his boy. Like, it's incredible. You see how they love to play for this man. And it's no wonder we absolutely love taking this photo with this man. I mean, my face looks so ridiculous in this photo because I'm just in awe. I'm taking a photo with Frank Wilson. Oh my God. Like, and he was the nicest dude in the world. He was just, the man lives and breathes the Godfather like vibe. He is just so, there's just something honorable about Frank that is beyond words. It's beyond something tangible, but it's always there, hanging in the ether. It's something very, very ethereal about Frank Wilson that he's in the water, like, I think he deserves a shot. I'm very emotional about it. Give him a shot, because it's not going to be a big gamble for LSU. It's not like you're going to be signing him to a 5-year, $50 million contract or something. This is something that can be a short-term bridge to something else, a bridge from LSU away from a situation where they can be held for ransom by someone and their agent. Because right now they know LSU are desperate and LSU need the right hire. They find the person, they think they're the right person. They can be held for as much money as these people want. Okay? So Frank Wilson being a short-term 1 or 2 year hire bridges you strategically even to that point. But also, man, does it feel good to see guys care about playing for LSU again. Giving everything for LSU again, because just pure passion, pure love for the game, pure love for the school. And you haven't seen that from LSU in really any time under the Brian Kelly era. Here and there. Some games here and there. But these guys immediately love playing for Frank Wilson. This says a lot to me, man. This says a lot to me. And now I'm going to tell you why he shouldn't be given the opportunity. Okay, don't be emotional. Don't get over. Don't get in over your head here with a guy. You need a Kiffin. LSU deserves a big name. LSU needs a big name, someone who can really guide this ship to up and be up and above. Not LSU, punching up. LSU should be dominating, and someone who can take them to that next level. That's Lane Kiffin. That's even a John Sumrall. That's a fill in the blank name, whatever high paid coach candidate is your preference. And usually it's going to be the pro Kiffin argument of what are we doing? Frank Wilson hasn't been tested. Frank Wilson hasn't done anything as a head coach. Frank Wilson, is only a this type of a football coach. He's only a this guy. You're setting ceilings on what Frank Wilson is and what he can be, who he can be. And maybe whether you think that's right or wrong, that's what people are doing out there. That's what people are saying. We're going to set these limits on Frank Wilson. This is only the type of coach he can be. This is only the type of person in football he can be. He cannot be the head coach of LSU and be successful. He is only an interim type of guy. Lane Kiffin is the dude. And if you have to pay $110 million, so be it. If you have to pay $150 million, so be it. If you have to give him the keys to the kingdom, so be it. It doesn't matter if he hasn't won a championship. Give him the keys to the kingdom. It's Lane Kiffin. It's the name. And there's also other reasons of maybe Frank is more of a symbolic figure and a recruiting godfather than really an on-field maestro. And that maybe there's an argument to be made there. But I think his work in developing talent over the years kind of spits in the face of that. So Frank Wilson, man, that's why I don't envy anyone who's on this coaching search committee, because it's going to be a very difficult decision that they've got on their hands. A very difficult decision they've got on their hands. Because this has got to be made. This has got to be the right decision, because LSU cannot afford to miss on another coaching hire. That's why perhaps a Frank Wilson bridge to Terabithia 2-year kind of soiree, maybe that's not such a bad idea. Maybe you could actually win a championship in that time period. We've seen that before. Anyway, I encourage all of you to check out our post-game show. That's right there on LSUODYSSEY.com, or just watch the link here on X or on LSUODYSSEY.com, either way. But we will not be posting on YouTube. We do not want to get another one of those strikes. We do have our LSUODYSSEY.com interview with LaRon Landry. That has now been finally posted to YouTube. Finally, we've been able to get it to YouTube. If you haven't watched it, and you call yourself an LSU fan, if you haven't watched it and you call yourself some type of tiger, you need to watch this show, because, man, he talks about the heyday of LSU. He talks about what it means to be coached by Nick Saban. He talks about what it means to play alongside a guy like Sean Taylor. He talks about how close he could have gone to the Miami Hurricanes. Man, he talks about what that 2003 team was made of and why they won a championship. And then he talks about why that 2006 team should have but didn't win a national championship. And the differences between Miles and Saban. Man, we got down to the nitty gritty with LaRon Landry. And I'm here to tell you, it's just the first of many. We're going to be doing a lot of collaborations with him, and a sequel to this career interview is going to come up next. And we're going to be talking about the most difficult issues within his career, including why he ended up retiring from the NFL and some of the more controversial areas of his career and some of the allegations that revolve around that. Anyway, everybody, have a good rest of your night. We'll be talking to you soon. LSUODYSSEY.com here. And we want to just say thank you so much, everybody. And have a good rest of your night. Have a good Sunday. Hug and love your families. Tell your people you love them. And brush your teeth. Go Tigers.